Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Wednesday Wakeup Live. Good morning, Amy Serpa.
Good morning, David Serpa.
Good morning, Mr. Bach.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Serpa.
Good morning.
Oh, we've got a great show planned out for you guys today. We're going to be talking about vigilante justice. There's a really cool thing going on right now. People are getting involved in their world. I like it. We're going to talk about the Virginia gun rally, content of character versus keeping up a facade. And then I'm going to jump on my soapbox and talk to you guys a little bit about the angel of death. So we've got a great show. You guys excited to jump in? Alexa, stop.
Bam.
That means it's time to get started.
Listen today.
Okay, so we're going to start the show off right now by telling you guys there is a very interesting thing going on in America right now. People are getting involved in their communities. They are not only are they getting involved where law enforcement may be falling short or may need help, but they're coming alongside law enforcement and helping them out to do their job and work more efficiently. I'm loving it. We're calling attention really to this guy on Gotcha Predator,
That's right.
EJ Twyman. And EJ has been racking up thousands of views. He has been going after predators, specifically in Wildemar, to luring them in a lot of times from out of area. And then what he's doing is he is putting them on camera and he is exposing them for what they're doing. I love it. Zach, you brought it to our attention. What is it that interested you about what EJ was doing with Gotcha Predator?
Well, I initially saw it on Temecula Talk, I believe it was, and unfortunately, he did one at the mall, and the mall told him to take the video down.
Really?
Because he filmed in the mall parking lot, and they didn't like that very much, and so he got a cease and desist letter. And rather than bending to the will of these attorneys, he went to social media and said, "Look at what I got for what I'm trying to do."
Mm-hmm.
And I applaud him for that because it was a scare tactic. And he said, "No, I'm not just gonna bow to your will." And I saw that, of course, immediately. I wanted to get involved based on my background and what I used to do in the Air Force. And so I'm supposed to talk with him today about getting involved with him, and then hopefully he's going to be on the show next week.
So really quick, can you go and tell everybody that's watching this that may or may not know who you are and what you did? What is it that you did and that you still do with the Air Force?
So, I worked in a law enforcement capacity for the Air Force, and I worked crimes against children. I have investigated everything from sexual crimes against children to child pornography crimes and anything in between. And I have a couple dudes sitting down in Miramar right now that I put there.
Now, what's interesting about all of this is that, of course, law enforcement is overwhelmed. And I think that a lot of times law enforcement, in my opinion, is out enforcing things that really most of us are not worried about. And it takes away from the things that most of us are deeply concerned about, which is child predators, which is human trafficking. And what's happened is there are people out there that are going out there like certain ministries and Rudy Gonzalez and Lori Gonzalez, and their fight against human trafficking. And then EJ Twyman and Gotcha Predator with his work against these people that are looking to have sex with children in our communities. And the video that I watched, that you ended up watching and you ended up watching, and I think we've all got some different perspectives and some different thought on it. But what happened was he caught some guy that was there to have sex with a minor, a 14-year-old. All of his videos are very long. They go into great detail about what the exchange was between the people. He calls them on their cell phone, goes live on Facebook or has his guy recording it, and then he exposes them for who they are. And quite honestly, I enjoy that he's shaming them. I enjoy that he's putting a camera in their face. Kate feels a little bit differently about this, and I'd like for you to go ahead and, because there's a lot of people that might agree with you, but I think that what we have to do, if the law enforcement cannot put people in their place, is we have to do it. And I think that if we can do it with a camera and with some shame, and by shaming these people and then hopefully getting them arrested and letting people know who their neighbors are, then all the more credit to EJ, in my opinion. Do you have anything that you wanted to chime in on?
I think what EJ's doing is very honorable and is a good thing. But I just think that the bigger conversation that we're not having as a nation and in our culture is that we're not talking about the mental health that is really driving these men and or sometimes it's women, but mostly these men to do these things. So for me, it's more about wanting to attack the root of the problem instead of just going out and putting these, again, and these individuals are wrong. It is disgusting. But I don't think we're focusing on what the real problem is.
Whereas I'm like, these people are, in my opinion, if you're out there and you're a victim at one point in your life and you have had something terrible happen to you, that's one thing. If you decide to go out and then perpetuate that problem and pass it on along to someone else, you're now the problem. You now need to be eradicated. And whether or not we are going to put these people on blast socially, on social media, let people know who they are, or whether or not we are going to turn them into the sheriff's department or, Kate said, if you did this though, if you knew that something like this was going on, you would beat this man half to death behind a Stater Brothers. And I'm like, yeah, but is that the right thing to do? Should we be out there beating people to death? And no, I don't think so. But I can tell you that I would have trouble not seeing red. And I applaud EJ and I applaud Gotcha Predator for the approach that they're taking, because my initial knee-jerk reaction, because I still have this very strong, heavy brow line, is violence.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about it?
Honestly, I'm kind of like, let's get like Jody and make him famous.
Sure.
Honest to God, I think that there is a problem, and why not be vigilantes about it and really face the problem where it's at, and that's in the streets. Unfortunately, there's a lot of red tape with law enforcement, and there's so many steps involved and things that need to be approved, by so many people, that it really ends up taking the action away from them. And I know that they want to get these things solved. I know that, they know the problem's there, but unfortunately there's just this gap. And so it really is going to take the community to get involved.
I think a big part of this is being a voice for the voiceless.
100%.
And blessed be the peacemakers, right? And so there are people out there that don't have a voice. And what are we doing in the interim for those people? And I think that what we have to do is, in law enforcement, a lot of times when it comes to human trafficking, they go after the victims. They go after the person being trafficked, the person being sold.
Yeah.
They aren't going after the Johns. They aren't going after the predators. And I think that we have to have a shift in our communities where we start going after the people that are buying. We go after the predators. And if they are not willing to fix themselves, I am not willing to fix them for them. And I'm sure as hell not interested in having taxpayer dollars paid for it. And so, in my opinion, when somebody like EJ, Gotcha Predator, they go out there, they put a camera in someone's face.
Yes.
If they can then get sponsored for that, if they can have people out there paying for them to continue to do that, I think that that's absolutely beautiful. So if people want to sponsor him in his show, if people want to buy commercial space on Gotcha Predator, I think that's fantastic. It's subsidizing law enforcement.
And this is what I look at is, we had this conversation of, being altruistic of nature,
Sure.
right? If he gets a little bit of fame, and this takes up a lot of his time. Now, I don't know what his normal job is. I know he's got 2 daughters that he talks about.
That's right.
Show. If this takes up a good portion of his time and he's doing a good thing, he by all means should be compensated for that, because he still needs to provide for his family.
One of the problems is that we are so dependent on the government for our protection. We want the government to be the answer all the time. And the thing is when we continue to be dependent on the government for our safety, what they'll do is they'll sell it back to us for votes. They'll get us excited about things for votes, and then they will continue to not do anything to fix the problem. And so am I about, rehabilitation for child sex predators? No, I'm not. I mean, genuinely, if you decide to rape somebody, if you decide to put your hands on a child, you have made a conscious decision over a period of time. It wasn't an accident. And I'm not talking like, you're 18 years old and you have sex with a 16-year-old or 17-year-old. I'm talking a conscious decision, a calculated move to make predatory action over a period of time. In my opinion, you are beyond rehabilitation. We will always have to watch you as a community, and you should either be locked up indefinitely or you should be put out of our misery because we don't need you around.
So when you left the room earlier, Kate and I had a discussion about this. Kate, what is your, because we had a good discussion about what should happen, and I think Kate and I were able to agree on,
just touching on that, I guess, no, they maybe not rehabilitation, but if we're not at least making a conscious effort as human beings to even try and figure out what is going on with their mental health so that we can help future generations, like what is it that is going on in their heads to make them take these steps? How did they get there? What happened to it? Was it childhood trauma? Was it a mixture of different things? What happened that led them to do these things? And how can we then take that information and help the future generations? You know, it may not be about rehabilitating that person, but we definitely can gain from, because a lot of them, I guarantee you get them in a room and you get them start to talk, get them talking and let them feel heard.
Amy,
guarantee you
got your cringe face on.
they might. Well, what
I'm
if
cringing
they?
big time?
But what
to
if
be
they
honest.
give information that will help, that can help maybe even law enforcement try and hone in on who they're targeting, what they're doing, why they're doing it, why, what's their motive?
So I'm just going to like 100% disagree with you on this one, Kate. And my reason is that we are an innocent until proven guilty society.
Mhm.
And that really leaves the perpetrator, the person who has committed this crime,
Mhm.
completely free of being held accountable. And it drags our victims into the state where they are then forced to speak up and then silenced because they're in a case. And I got to tell you,
So really quick, I want to say hello to everybody that's watching all over the internet. We have 26 people watching right now. We've had about 30 plus people watching. If you are commenting live on the Wednesday Wake Up, we can see your comments here. There are people commenting on Amy's watch party and on Zach's watch party. Matt said the problem is that in California, more often the laws protect the criminal more often than the victim.
totally.
I agree with you, my brother. And so the problem is that the justice system currently has no justice within it. And so it's required almost this sense of vigilante justice, even within the prisons. And so what's happened is there are people sharing stories out there about child sex offenders getting beat to death in prison.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately, in my opinion, that's unfortunate. That's where we've gotten to where we're all so desperate for justice that we're getting excited about the fact that somebody might be getting beaten to death in prison. And so, where does the answer start? And I think that this is a multifaceted issue. And I think that it should be addressed at several points. But what happens is right now we're not interested in rehabilitation at all within the prison system. And so when people are reintroduced, they're just reintroduced.
Mhm.
And then they're put into this Megan's Law website, which is loosely monitored at best. And then I've never had anyone knock on my door. And I know for a fact that there's sex offenders living in this neighborhood. And so, do we paint their curbs hazard colors so that people know that the sex offenders live in our community?
Yeah.
Do we, how do we follow up? And where is the accountability? And so, Matt, you're absolutely right. In California, just like everywhere throughout the country, the laws protect the criminal more often than the victim.
Yeah.
And I think that that's because we've gotten way too loose with who we're deciding are criminals.
Yeah. And, they get locked up and that's that. The victim is then questioned by the police, the, criminal justice system. And then they're being, told that they need to speak out loud exactly what happened in detail in front of the person that committed the crime against them.
But
and
Chris,
so it's re-traumatization,
absolutely,
over and over.
victimization over and over again. Chris out there in Texas, a California expat, and I think that there's a lot of people leaving California. Mark Duckworth says, "Hey guys, good morning, everyone. I appreciate you guys all tuning in. This is it's been a passionate show thus far. As always, I feel like our show should come with a trigger warning because we come right off the door with it. I would say that most of us are probably shaking right now."
Can I just say one more thing? And I'm not disagreeing that I do not agree that there should be rehabilitation. I do not agree that they should not be punished. I just want to make that clear. They should be punished. There should not be rehabilitation. But if we are not doing our job as mental health professionals, whoever those people are, to figure out what it is that's driving this.
Yeah, and so
then
we're not talking in circles though, guys. Let's dive into these two parts of this vigilante justice.
Okay.
Is there a place for vigilante justice in our country?
I think
And then B, if people are out practicing vigilante justice, should they be out there putting it out there for the world to see and then having us fund it?
I think
So let's start off with the first one. Is there a place, and Amy, you're going to have to be cognizant of the frame here and continue to lean in. Is there a place for vigilante justice in America?
I think we need to stop calling it vigilante justice, because I think that comes with the connotation of I'm going to go shoot somebody. When we call it justice, because a lot of people go, kill them, just kill them. Whereas if we call it vigilante investigating, that is, we're still going to allow law enforcement to do their job, but we're going to take some of the burden off. We're going to gather the evidence ourselves. We're going to present it to law enforcement and say, hey, listen, X, Y, and Z needed to happen. I did X, Y, and Z. Here it is on a silver platter. All you have to do is put the cuffs on.
We forget that we, the people, are the government. We, the people, are the government. There's a reason why there's such thing called a citizen's arrest. And one of my favorite videos is from 2014 when a man goes in and arrests his local city council. And what happened was the sheriff ended up enforcing it and putting 6 of the 7 members in cuffs and walking them out, because legally in that state, any person is allowed to be heard. And the city council members had voted 6 out of 7 of them not to hear this person. And so they decided to go ahead and have the city council arrested. But so a citizen's arrest. Amy, what is your take on vigilante justice in America? Is there a place for it?
100%, and I think that there's actually these small revolutions happening nationwide right now. I'm seeing it everywhere. I'm seeing these people, I'm seeing veterans, I'm seeing moms, I'm seeing activists throughout communities really standing up and deciding to really become that Mother Teresa mentality of, find your own Calcutta, right?
Yeah.
And if we don't start caring about our communities, where we live, where we work, where we're raising our families, it is going to affect us nationally. And so we're really starting to see this trend of people not being okay with that anymore.
I love it. I love all these mini revolutions that are being fought throughout America right now, because we spend so much time overseas fighting, but we forget that there's a lot of revolution that needs to be fought right here. So first off, this is just like right within the house. Look at that. Look at that. Look at all those sex offenders just in a tiny little spot. And so, holy smokes, isn't that something? Kate, what is your perspective on vigilante justice? And then we'll move on to the next part of that question.
I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think there is a lot of it happening in our nation right now, in a lot of different capacities. Amy's, I think, spot on with that. I do think that there is this whole, but where is it unlawful? Are we doing, where's that line where we're doing illegal activities in order to present this, this criminal, this evidence, and where do you draw those lines?
Because one of the interesting things that EJ has going on is that he keeps his camera on the entire time so that they cannot say that he beat them up.
That's right.
And I'm like, the guy's covering his bases. And I actually think that that's how the new revolution is going to be fought, with awareness, with social media, with putting a camera in people's face.
He's been going live on Facebook now.
I love it. So Hillary, our mom here, says, it is a shame that all sexual predators are viewed as being the same. In reality, there are sex crimes charged for defecating on the side of the road. Learning a lot about this from working with veterans labeled as 290 sexual predators. Yes, that is true. What's happened is we've just kind of abandoned common sense, really, in California and throughout the country. We've just abandoned common sense. Yeah. And so my thought process on vigilante justice is, not only does vigilante justice have a place in the light, but vigilante justice has a place in the darkness. I think that that some people should get their butts kicked.
Yeah.
I think that some people need to get their butts kicked. I think there's a lot of things that are going on right now throughout California where people have gotten way too comfortable with the thought that violence will never visit them in their yard.
No consequences.
And so
nobody telling them, no, that's not acceptable.
That's right. And so because people think that they can get away with murder, they tend to get away with murder.
Yeah.
And so I think that what we have to do is we have to start holding up the mirror.
Where do we hold the line? To
the predators in the society. And if at some point or another that happens in the darkness, I have no problem with that. Yeah. Now, there are and this is kind of an interesting thing, there are people, and this we'll get to the next topic here. There are people on social media that are real life superheroes. They're putting on costumes. One of them is an MMA fighter, and they're going out and they're delving out justice where they live. They're beating up people that are, needing to get their butts kicked. And some of them are going around with notepads. Some of them are going around with batons, but that's vigilante justice in America. So to bring it down, vigilante justice, as far as I'm concerned, EJ, you're a hero, my brother. You're a hero. You're doing the freaking good work, and I appreciate what you're doing. So that brings us to our next topic.
Let me, real quick, This app that I pulled up is called Truth Finder. It is basically tied into the Megan's Law website. It has names, crimes, everything that these people did. You know, you can see lewd and lascivious act with a child under 14, indecent exposure. It has the names, pictures if they have them, and what they did, and their address.
And what is so interesting is that as I ride with my kid on his bike to school, we ride by 3 sex offenders every morning. 3 on a bike ride. And that is why mothers are uncomfortable sending their kids out to play. So what do we have to do here? And what I think that with EJ, like I said, EJ, you're a hero. I appreciate everything that you're doing. As far as I'm concerned, there should be paid content. I would love for people to just dump tons and tons of money into what EJ is doing. Because is there a better thing out there to put on camera for the world to see? And he's going to be a YouTube freaking big deal here. He's going to be absolutely humongous. And he's right here in Wildemar, just our next door neighbor. Is there a place for paying these people for their vigilante justice?
Yes.
Kate.
I don't know. I don't think there should be any sort of monetary gain for taking your phone and doing good work for the sake of humanity. I don't think there should be any monetary gain.
Should only police officers get paid to keep us safe?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Aim. And then let's move on.
You know what? To be honest with you guys, this kind of reminds me of a movie that Tom Cruise came out with a few years back when AI was kind of really new for everybody. And what it was like tech working out this way to systematize and find out crimes that were going to happen right before they got committed.
Oh, that's Minority Report. And yeah that's actually it's a little bit different than
but it's kind of a fascinating thing to like correlate with what we're talking about is like, you know, this guy's kind of going out and intercepting right before the crime actually is committed based on the intel that he's getting.
Interesting. Yeah.
So it's a new way of looking at things.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. So, hey, so if you're just turning in here, we just talked about EJ Twyman. We talked about vigilante justice and whether or not it does or does not have a place here in America. We're going to give a quick plug here to Michelle's Place before moving on and talking about the Virginia gun rally. So, Kate, what is Michelle's Place and how can people find out more about it?
So Michelle's Place is our nonprofit of the week that we're highlighting. They're based out of Temecula, and they are a cancer resource center. A young woman, 26 years old, I believe her name was Michelle Watson, was why all of this developed. She developed breast cancer at the age of 26. And when she passed, it was her wish that she would have had some sort of a center, resources for her family. And so her parents and her family then very quickly established Michelle's Place. And now they offer over 10,000 free services to family and the cancer patient every year. So over 10,000 free services. They're based out of Temecula. They're growing right now. And they're a wonderful nonprofit. So if you want to get involved, check out Michelle's Place in Temecula.
Very cool. And of course, we did this walk here for
we did a
someone close to us that is a cancer survivor.
Yeah.
And they had all these beautiful stories posted everywhere from women that are breast cancer survivors and some men that are breast cancer survivors. Yeah. And I can tell you that as we went on this 5K walk with the kids, there were several times that I just started crying. It was just absolutely beautiful.
Every few feet, or every 20 or 30 feet, they would have a big board up and, you know, that woman or man's story and whether or not they survived or not. And you just kind of we're getting tons of perspective as you're walking this 3 miles. So yeah, get involved.
So for those of you that are just tuning in here, we just talked about vigilante justice, and Kate took the lone wolf fight against the three of us, really just, you know, getting really all pumped up about vigilante justice. And Jonathan said, I agree with Kate. And this he doesn't look like a joke. He looks like he knows how to handle himself. So Jonathan, I appreciate you sticking up for Kate.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Okay, let's move on.
Just so we're clear, we're not on different sides of the road here. We all want the same thing. I just think there's a different way to go about it.
Itching is a sign of breast cancer, and not many know this. Found this out after being diagnosed. This is my mom, breast cancer survivor here. You know, yes, itching is a sign. I had cancer on my chest for a year and a half. and it was big, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I had no idea what it was, and it was itchy, and then eventually we had it taken off. Okay, so here we go. Let's talk about this Virginia gun rally, shall we? If you aren't triggered yet, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about this Virginia gun rally, shall we? So for those of you that are not aware, our good brothers and sisters in Virginia set out to fight the good fight and stick it to the man. And the man is, of course, big government. The man is the corporatocracy. And my God, they showed up in Virginia. They covered the Capitol. And some of these people are moms. Some of these people are dads. Some of them are veterans. Some of them are just trying to look like they're veterans. But it borderline on like extreme activism and a cosplay event.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I loved tuning in.
It was interesting in seeing some of the military groups that I'm a part of, people going, I wish people would tone down like the cosplay and wanting to look like operators a little bit. It's okay to look like a normal human while attending these events. Interesting.
Like, so right off the bat, can you really, and I actually feel like that's what the Tea Party fell victim to.
Yeah.
The Tea Party made so much sense and was so revolutionary, and it got hijacked by the system, and it got hijacked by these wild people that were coming out of the woodworks, dressing as our founding fathers, and then discrediting the whole movement with how ridiculous they appeared in a lot of ways. They were like a sideshow. But can you tell people, Zach, do you know what's going on in Virginia and why everybody showed up?
So unfortunately, I started looking into this, and then I got sidetracked. Essentially, the Virginia, governor is trying to put some gun laws in place that a lot of people do not agree with, because it's
confiscation gun laws.
Exactly. It's a lot of people are going, it's a violation of the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is very black and white, and a lot of people read it very black and white. And then there's some people that read it very gray, and they want to go, "Oh, we're not having flintlocks anymore." And so they decided to have a rally, and the Virginia governor decided to call all kinds of people in and all this stuff. And it was a peaceful rally. Nothing happened. Actually, there's videos of people at the rally picking up trash around the city.
And they said it was a very peaceful Monday.
Yeah. And
I love it.
And then I see these comments. I actually went on the Virginia governor's page, and he took credit for the rally being peaceful. Because he said, I had so much law enforcement there and all these agencies working together.
You butthole.
Yeah.
Because the presence of government is immediately what makes something peaceful. Oh my gosh. I can tell you, the governor of Virginia, this is another one of those guys, you're on notice.
Yeah.
Not only are you like more than likely not going to get reelected, but it's not even going to be close. I think he's gone. I think he's out. The Second Amendment, Kate, you have something you want to say?
I was reading, me and my numbers. So I was reading.
The ISFJ perspective.
I was reading a little bit this morning, and it said that the reason that they think he actually will remain in office is because the suburbs, I guess, are getting flooded with the younger crowds, like these younger demographics that are coming in with all different kinds of viewpoints. Yeah. So he may not be driven out as quickly as everybody is thinking.
So what's really interesting here is I actually feel like that guns is a generational topic. I feel like the older generation, for the most part, and I would say that like around your 30s and up, you tend to be, you know what? You should have guns. You should protect yourself. And then a lot of the people in their 30s and below are like, oh, I don't know. I feel like it's the government's job to protect me. And especially in California, you had your class recently, going back to college here, and these professors, they take these very,
very hard stances,
anti-gun stances.
And the professor, the first day of class, goes, and she's not wrong, but I disagree with her. And she goes, most people in California are liberal and they don't support gun rights. And I was just like, she goes, and can we all agree? And I immediately go, no, I don't agree with that.
Let me break it to you like this, guys. America, you've grown soft. You've grown soft. The reason for this country having guns, this amendment was not created so that people could go hunting. This amendment was created so that people could hold their local governments accountable, so that people could hold their government accountable. This is not one of those things. It's like people think that the freedom of speech was meant to protect safe speech or like comfortable speech. This is an amendment that at times it makes me uncomfortable.
Mhm.
I have, and this is one of those things that gun nuts always hate me saying, I have one gun and I know how to use it and I can reach every corner of this house. So I prefer you not try me. I have one gun. I was a machine gunner with the Marine Corps. I know that if the government decides that they want to come and take my gun, that they're going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not an idiot about that. But once you have disarmed law-abiding citizens, the government now has carte blanche to do whatever the hell it determines is right.
I saw something else that said gun control. A big part of this rally was that everyone thinks gun control is going to result in people control in general. Do you think that that's the case?
I definitely see how it can build up to that, and I agree with that. I mean, look at Nazi Germany. You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Lawful.
Their guns are taken away from them. Next thing you know, big government's coming down and people are dying, by thousands. So this just creates.
I'll tell you, one of the
genocide.
reasons why they haven't already gone into all these people's homes in Virginia is because the government is scared.
There's over 22,000 people that showed up to that rally.
The government is scared. That's where they should be. They should be scared. And so the 4th of July, and I love the 4th of July, but what has happened is we become a nation of flag wavers that chant war all the time. We're just like, war, 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 while being protected behind all of these different niceties and all these different safeties.
Blinded by the comforts.
And so there are
society.
people who have killed.
First world society.
And I trust those people, like the man in Texas who decided to take out that guy. It took him one shot.
He was there at the rally.
He was there and he spoke at the rally.
Yes.
And it was a big deal because law-abiding citizens, I want them to have guns.
That's right.
I want them to have guns.
There's a reason that my 7-year-old has already started shooting his 22. And maybe this weekend I'm going to take Jackson to the range. For those of you that want to get triggered by guns, teach him that gun safety aspect. There's a reason that guy was an NRA instructor. The guy that did that in that church, I think he used a shotgun, and that took that NRA instructor one shot.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, 2 lives were lost, if I remember correctly.
Within a couple of seconds.
It could have been a whole lot worse.
Within a couple of seconds. And so I want law-abiding people to have guns. That being said, there is this weird thing, right, where like people are walking around with Berettas, and people are walking around with 50 caliber sniper rifles in
like
the
a
streets.
show of force.
Like a show
Very
of force.
militarized,
And so when I see these people that are like caricatures, yes, if you don't exercise your rights, will they be taken away? I believe so. I believe so. And so there is a place for these cosplay type characters to go out there and do these things. But they're typically very terrified people. They're very afraid. So I don't know. I love how pro-gun this country is. I love why we're pro-gun, because at one point we used those guns to overthrow a government. And so for the 4th of July, we're waving flags. This is where the 4th of July has gone wrong, ladies and gentlemen. It is not about blind allegiance to a flag. It is about, and this is how we should celebrate the 4th of July as Americans. We should go out to our nation, to our capitals, to our local government facilities, and we should gather and we should celebrate. And then if our local government is smart, they should come out and they should celebrate with us that we still have the numbers to do what we want to do. The revolution of this country happened not because of peaceful men, but because of very, very violent men, supported by courageous women that were willing to keep living in their stead after they were taken from us. My friend's Uncle George was not a peaceful dude. Okay? George Washington was not a peaceful man. He sailed across the river to kill a bunch of people on Christmas morning because they were trying to take something from us. That is where we come from. That is your birthright as a country, is to keep your government in check. It is what it means to be American, to keep your government in check. Dissent is the highest form of patriotism, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's a great Netflix series called The Man in the High Castle.
Yeah, sure.
And, it's all about what if the Nazis and the Japanese had won World War II.
Yeah.
And it creates a very different picture of our country. And that show was so controversial that in New York City, they took down the posters for the sign because it showed the Statue of Liberty, with a swastika across her and these various things. And they had to change all of those images because it was so controversial. But what people don't realize is that's absolute government control is what that show was showing. And that's where, if we're not careful, we're headed.
That freedom of speech just goes away.
Yes.
It just goes away.
Yeah.
And
A little bit.
your freedom, and I can't remember who said this, is always one generation away from extinction. And so if we're not careful, we will be entertained right in the chains.
It's insanity to think the fact that this show that we're doing right now and the topic that we're covering right now could be the point that all of a sudden somebody's knocking on this door to arrest us for discussing these topics.
So if you are free, or if you have somebody putting confines on your freedom, just, think about who you're not willing to, or who you're not able to criticize. And the truth is right now, we are still free in this country. We are still free, but it is a slippery slope. And so exercise your rights, even if it's dressing up as a cosplayer and acting like you served in the military and carrying around guns in Virginia. So there's that. Shall we move on to the next topic? Yes?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm reading a very interesting
Gary,
book.
so she's got a couple comments on the watch party.
Why don't you update us?
So Gary said there's a fundamental difference between raising awareness and vigilante justice. While he loves what EJ is doing because sexual predators sicken him, he also believes that we do not want to start encouraging all the average Joes to go out and try to become law enforcement. We have law enforcement for a reason. We don't need people out there not knowing the law and getting involved in entrapment. I agree, Gary. However, only law enforcement can entrap people. A private citizen cannot entrap another person. And so I do get what you're saying, but private citizens cannot entrap each other. Law enforcement are trained professionals that are not only educated in the law, but also educated in how to handle themselves in the situation, and they have backup. I do agree there that law enforcement do know how to handle themselves.
That's a really long comment.
Yeah, EJ is very careful about not putting himself in this situation. One of the biggest things about this is, and what you're saying is, EJ is doing a great job and he's very smart about it. If you don't have the common wherewithal, if your idea is I'm going to go out and catch these people and beat them up, and I'm going to put myself and my family in risky situations, don't do it.
Gary ends off his comment by saying that he would like to see EJ get hired on to work at law enforcement and get paid that way. So one of my favorite comic books, and I'm a nerd, I'm autistic, is I really enjoy The Watchmen. And who watches The Watchmen, right? Who watches The Watchmen? And so I think that these people that perform these services outside of government are actually performing extraordinary service to those of us outside of government, because they're performing a service. I think that we should fund things like this. I grew up loving superheroes. I can't wait to have EJ on the show.
I think that he brings up a great point is maybe if EJ were to start his own company, wecatchpredators.com.
Like a bounty hunter.
That's it. And law enforcement just says,
but hasn't he?
Yes, but I think that the government at a point, I would rather my taxpayer dollars go towards EJ and a company that he started, and the government saying, listen, law enforcement's overwhelmed. We'll pay you $100,000.
You know what's interesting is that the government hires private contractors overseas.
Exactly.
We have more private contractors overseas in Iraq than we do soldiers. So why don't we have private contractors shelving out some justice here locally? And why don't we hire some private investigators to really shake some things up? Yep. And then is that a slippery slope? Because now you have private companies going around enforcing the law.
It's a slippery slope.
It's very interesting. Okay,
we have to keep it in check.
Let's get to the next topic, shall we? Content of character versus facade of image. Now, I could just imagine that the views are going to plummet at this point, but I'm hoping that people are going to stay tuned. I'm reading a fantastic biography. I enjoy revolutionaries. I enjoy people that just can't stand the system. I read a great biography on Einstein, another one about Patton. About Einstein, about Patton, and another one about Malcolm X. And Malcolm X had this great dissertation that he delivered in his book about the conch. Now, the conch, for those of you that don't know, was a hairstyle back when people were wearing zoot suits and whatnot, in which a black man would apply several different chemicals to his scalp, making his hair go straight and then slick it back so that his hair appeared more whitewashed. Okay, so what's interesting about all of this is that Americans continue to participate in things where we whitewash ourselves. We do this weekly. Women bleach their hair.
Zach, we're about to get put on blast, just FYI.
Okay.
Get ready.
Women bleach their hair. Men manicure their beards. We shave our faces, and we and eye contacts are never brown eye contacts. How many people own brown eye contacts? Most eye contacts are blue eye contacts or green or purple. I think it's very interesting that we have a society that participates regularly in the bleaching of their hair. Why have we decided that that is our ideal? And if we spent more time on our character than we did on our images, the image, the facade that we are presenting to the world, would this world be a little bit of a better place?
This circles back to actually the very beginning of sexual predators. And one of the reasons is everything comes down to trauma and insecurities and everything else. And I've joked about this recently that it's like I look at people and I'm like, oh, you have an insecurity, you have an insecurity.
Sure.
And all of this comes from if we were completely secure in ourselves, we wouldn't need anything. But nobody is completely secure in themselves. And there's always something that makes us feel good.
So one of the biggest things that ever got me likes on Facebook was when I shaved my beard.
You're welcome, Facebook.
Okay. No, I'll tell you quite honestly, shaving my beard was putting on a mask for the world that made me palatable for them. It was a denial of myself to shave my beard because it became such a topic of conversation, my big wild beard and my long hair, that people could no longer pay attention to the words that were coming out of my mouth, to my ideals, to the books that I was writing. People just tell me to shave your beard, make it so that your image is more acceptable to me.
Yeah.
And so the problem is that we are so harshly judgmental on one another's appearance that we make snap judgments about who they can and cannot be on the inside. Yeah. And so I wanted to grow my beard out forever. I wanted to be this big, nasty thing and grow my hair out forever because it was who I was. And then it was sort of sticking it to people.
I totally get it.
But the problem is that society was not willing to accept me as bearded with a long hair. They discredited me. So what are we doing to people who can't change their images, that are a race that you might look down on, that have a color hair that you might look down on, are shorter than you would expect, taller than you would expect? What does their facial hair say about them? What does their hair say about them? You know, we Botox our faces. And we get plastic surgery and we cover ourselves with plastic and we're not worried about what's going on here and what's going on here.
I think that one of the biggest things is what do we teach our kids in schools? And I think a word that a lot of people don't even understand what it means is ethnocentrism. And what it is judging somebody else's culture based on your own culture. And what a lot of people look at is they go, well, an American culture. Okay, there is no such thing as an American culture. We have tiny little cultures all over America because we're this gigantic country. And going back to you and your beard and your hair is a lot of people were judging you by their view of the American culture and what they thought an American could be. Whereas your view was, hey, I want to be this dirty looking hippie veteran. All right, cool. You know, but a lot of people.
But that wasn't even it. That wasn't even it.
I get it. I was joking.
The point was I did not want to participate anymore in this weekly, as a Marine, every week I cut my hair and every day I shaved my face. And I decided I don't want to participate in the weekly dressing up of myself to make myself okay for the rest of the world to swallow. And so what happened was because of it, people started looking down on me. You know what I mean? And I was still groomed and I was still clean, but oh, you wanted to be a dirty looking hippie. It's like, no, I just didn't want to participate in the social constraints of what acceptable is.
I did know that. I just wanted to call you a dirty hippie veteran. But you know, and one of the biggest things is we judge people so harshly, as you said, on, well, this is my view of what we should do. And if you don't follow my view, and one thing I always go to, and it's an incredibly extreme example, and I don't agree with it, but China and children in China. There was a point in China where they would get rid of children.
Sure.
And it was their culture. And it's not okay, but we as Americans look at other cultures all the time and we go, your culture is wrong.
Yeah, are we getting out in the woods here? Are we getting out in the woods?
No.
So Martin Luther King talked about judging a man based on the content of his character, not the color of his skin. And that's why we're talking about this week. We're not that far removed. We're still judging people based on how they appear, how they come across, how their brain is wired. I mean, you take the Joker. Spoiler alert for those of you that haven't seen the Joker already, and I'm not going to give you away too much, but they brought him on because of his mental illness to laugh at him.
Mhm.
And that's something that we did. American Idol. We bring on somebody who's mentally handicapped and we laugh at them. And that's what we do with different people. We laugh at them, we mock them, we undermine them. And so instead of taking someone with a different viewpoint and saying, what could this person bring to the table? We want to immediately discredit them because they don't fit what's normal.
It was incredible at that. Is Joaquin Phoenix did a fantastic job in that movie.
Mhm.
You know, and he does a fantastic job in pretty much every movie he's in. There was a lady on a talk show that was mocking him because of his lip, because he has that cleft lip thing.
Mm.
And she was making fun of him because of it, and not at the content and how good he did and his amazing acting ability, but she chose to attack his image.
What a stupid idiot.
Yeah.
She got roasted.
What a
I was gonna
stupid
say,
idiot.
I would
Yeah, she
imagine
got-
What a
that
piece of
it's
trash.
Judgment is really only based on someone's perception, and their perception is really only based on what their life experiences have been.
Mhm.
And so what you are exposed to in your upbringing and throughout your life directly correlates with your belief system, your moral
Sure.
compass.
Sure.
And so if you don't get out there and expose yourself to people that make you uncomfortable,
Mhm.
how are you going to go out and learn about the world?
Yeah.
Nobody's
Well,
normal anymore.
What's happened is we've become a society where we do whatever it is that we're doing to our face and to our hair, and we get our hard part, or and men have become even prettier than women.
Oh yeah.
Men have become even,
I mean,
and listen,
geez.
I love being a dandy. I love dressing up and whatnot, but men have started spending so much time on grooming.
It's unreal.
Like it's like the Hunger Games, where
Yeah.
people just get themselves all dolled up.
I had a friend
and
of
they
mine that
eat.
had more facial creams and lotions and all these like beauty products than me. And I was like, am I doing something wrong that a man's taking better care of his skin than I am?
My
you
buddy
know?
Brady, he said he posted a picture of that his daughter had painted his toenails. And I was like, good for you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's spending time with his daughter. Another guy said, I get manicures every week or whatnot. And I was like, not good for you, man. Take a deep breath. So I'm not one of those guys. I don't spend money to get my hair cut, and I don't have other men touch my face.
Yeah.
And I don't do all of these different things that make me acceptable to all of you people.
So
Because
let
at
me
the end
ask
of the
you
day,
this, though.
I don't care
But
so much.
But here's the thing: what if they're not doing it because they care, but they're just doing it because it's what makes them feel good inside for themselves?
No, it's
So here's
ego.
the thing, though: is in the same way that people would judge you for your hair and your beard, you're judging these people for taking care of their image.
No. So listen. So I am judging people that spend 4 to 6 hours every week keeping up their image, keeping up how they appear to the world. I think it's disgusting. I think it's excessive. I think eventually our culture will be punished for it drastically. People can judge me however they want. I keep up this image. This is what I present to the world. I shave my face every day now because you judgmental bastards want me to shove my face, and you're unwilling to listen to anything that comes out of my mouth until I shave my face.
Yeah.
So I'll shave my face. I'll play the game a little bit, but I despise the game. I think the game's disgusting.
Yeah, and I think females are kind of raised up in this, egocentric vibe that we don't really see it for what it is, but we're being told you have to, look like this, talk like this, and be like this as a woman. And, now we have social media really exacerbating that for our youth at this point in time when Cosmo was heavy enough growing up in the 90s to pay attention to, and now not only, is it switched from quizzes to little articles, now we're actually in these kids' faces, we're in their homes on social media, dealing with bullying and, having to look a certain way by the time you're 10. And you're just not allowed to be a kid anymore. There's just these, our youth is being robbed from their childhood, and being told to act a certain way and be an adult at such a young age.
What's happened is we've started denying our children their childhood.
Yes.
And so what's happened is many adults, we should be working to return to childhood. We should be working to play more, to care about the things that are important and not about the things that are unimportant. And so our children remind us of so much that's so important. When a child walks by a homeless person, they want to see that. It makes no sense to them.
Yeah.
When a child walks by someone that's starving or litter in a beautiful place, they just want to pick it up. So children want to act immediately to make the world a better place. We as adults are the ones that are constantly talking them out of it and talking ourselves out of it and offering excuses for why we can't make the world better.
Yeah, they really look to emulate our actions, And so why not be what you want your children to start doing instead of, well, choose differently than what I did. Pick up a book. Let them see you reading. Let them see you exercise.
Let them see you reading.
Let them see you do you. It is healthy. And instead of, saying, hey, go hit the screen time and hit social media and Snapchat and all these things, getting back to the root of the family and spending quality time together, playing a board game or what have you.
A lot of people are putting it off. They're saying, I'm sacrificing all this so that my kids can have a life. And, you're teaching your kids to sacrifice their life.
Yeah.
You're teaching your kids not to live this one.
That's the incredible thing is, we said we're one generation removed from not having freedoms. We're also one generation away from completely ending racism and ethnocentrism. If you think about it, if we just taught our children right now to just be accepting, that's it. It's done.
What's interesting is I don't even really feel like you have to teach your children that much about acceptance. I feel like they kind of naturally gravitate towards that.
They're the ones that are putting the garbage in their minds.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And what's happened is we have to be aware of this stuff.
Yeah.
We have to just tell them the truth. It's in lying to them about history that it creates such deep generational trauma. I mean, we are a country that has a little bit of an ugly corner, a massive ugly corner. I would say an ugly room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so
West
it
Wing.
painted everything. It painted a lot of things for everything.
Sure.
And so we have to accept this so that we can move forward with more awareness as a unit. And I'm really excited about what this connectivity is doing.
Yeah.
Because what it's doing is it's saying, hey, if you live here, you're not so different from the people that live here. And one of the things that I learned, and this was a big eye opener for me, was when I started getting exposed to rich people. I started to realize that they are some of the most depraved people, the most morally out of whack, and they're just not my people. And so what happened was I started going around to different places in the country, started hanging out with a lot of people that have money, and I started seeing the way that they use people that don't have money. And I just wasn't super impressed by it. All right. So that's content of character. Kate, do you have anything that you want to say, kind of wrap up that section here before I jump on my soapbox?
You guys did a really good job. I think that we do need to focus more on the character, especially of our children, because character is who you really are, and image is just what you're projecting into the world.
That's right.
So I do think we need to focus more on cultivating our children and our own character. I do like to get my hair done, and I do like to project myself a certain way into this world, but there needs to be a balance in that. You know?
I'm not looking down on everybody who's out there getting their hair did. Okay, so that's not the point. I'm not looking down on everybody who's getting things done, but if you are spending more hours on image than you are on who you are as a human being, I do feel like there's something wrong with that.
Agreed.
Okay, so we had a great show today, guys. I'm going to jump on my soapbox here. I'm going to talk about embracing the angel of death, which is something that is crucial to my character. Embracing chaos, embracing that sort of Taoism of life. And so if you want to stick around and listen to that, great. So we talked about vigilante justice. Specifically, we talked about Ed Twyman and Catch a Predator, EJ Twyman. And hopefully he's going to be on the show next week. We talked about the Virginia gun rally, and that was a very exciting conversation that we had. Michelle's Place and all of the work that they're doing supporting families that have been affected by breast cancer. We talked a great deal about content of character versus facade of image. And right now I'm going to hop on my soapbox about embracing the angel of death. Okay, so much of my life, and I think many of you will be able to agree here, we have people that sort of come into our life during times of transition, during times that what they need an anchor to change. Maybe you got your cards read and the angel of death popped up, and there's that initial reaction of fear. I'm here to tell you that death is just as much a part of life as anything else. I embrace the angel of death. I don't enjoy being defined by anybody. And so the goal in life is to get back to a place where you can say, I am, without putting anything after that. I am a realtor. I am a writer. I am a father. I am allows you liquidity. It allows you to enjoy life as a bubbling brook, as a stream, as the ocean, just as much as the waterfall, because you are there with awareness. You're there along for the ride. And so there was an astronaut who spent a great deal of time in space. And he said that death really is the great arbitrator of life. But we in the West have tucked away our dying. And so because we've tucked away our dying, we have denied ourselves the lessons that have come typically with associating with death. We put mom and dad away. Mm-hmm. We put the dying away. We don't talk about death. But I think because of the fact that we don't talk about death, we don't really allow ourselves to live. So this morning when I'm picking up the wires in my front yard, almost a month after Christmas, I decided if I were to die tonight, I really would have wanted to pick up my yard so that Kate doesn't have to pick up all these wires. If I were to die tonight, would I really live today? And so truth strength, true life, comes in allowing yourself to die in every moment, to not be defined by your past or in where you are going, but allow yourself to truly live. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Wednesday Wake Up Live. If you've enjoyed this show, this is the part on YouTube where you're going to be encouraged to hit that like button. If you're watching on Facebook, please hit like for the Wednesday Wake Up Live and to get up-to-date information wherever you want to watch in the future so that you will get triggered weekly by whatever it is that we're talking about. If you would like to watch this playlist, it will pop up on YouTube that has every episode of the Wednesday Wake Up Live. We love to have heroes. We've had Lieutenant Colonel Godwin, retired Marine. We had Ginny May from Crunch Fitness, beautiful, beautiful, fantastic person. We had Rudy and Lori Gonzalez with Serpa Ministries, hoping to have EJ with Catch a Predator. We really enjoy this show, and we enjoy the opportunity that it gives us to connect with you. We love to hear from you while you're watching, so please feel free to do that. So watch the Wednesday Wake Up Live. Watch the open house show. Feel free to join us every Sunday while we're doing that. And please feel free to watch the VA Home Show as well. And subscribe to the Real Estate Network Television on YouTube so that you can get all three of these shows weekly at no charge to you, fancy pantses. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a great day.
Every day.